fellow Rotarians, honored guests. Yes, as mentioned, after an unfortunate and unavoidable absence on my part, I'm now back, and I am so excited to present you with this month's Rotary Spotlight member. This particular Spotlight member brings such light and excitement to every committee she works on and to every event we are so lucky to share with her. Yes, it's true. The Rotary Spotlight member for the month of February is none other than Fedva Dikmen, classification, real estate retired. She's what we call a champion member. She's been a member of Seattle Rotary for over 10 years. In fact, she's been a member of Seattle Rotary for over 20 years, and she's been a Rotarian for over 33 years. Now, Fedva's life has been filled with an international feel since her birth in Mardin, Turkey. Look at that little cutie pie. Family has always played a strong role in Fedva's life. She has two brothers and one sister, and today, one of her sisters is here with us today. We welcome you. We thank you for being here to honor Fedva. Thank you. Now, Fedva's mother was a homemaker. Her father, he held many jobs, such as a translator, because he spoke 5 languages. He was a photographer. He had a business changing gauges of gold and silver for jewelers. And he was even a tour guide. Let's see if I can. Fedva's dad was an inspirational and powerful influence in her life. And although born in Turkey, Fedva's family had no Muslim blood in them, as American missionaries came to Turkey and converted her grandfather to a Protestant minister for 40 years. Now, here's a fun fact. Fedva's grandfather made sure to give all of his children names that you couldn't tell if they were Christian or Muslim, so as to avoid any discrimination. Fedva's grandfather had 6 children, 5 boys and 1 daughter, and being a big believer in the importance of education, he sent all of his children outside of the country for college thanks to help from the Americans. The only son not to go to America was Fedva's dad, who stayed behind to take care of the grandparents and his own family. Again, inspiring Fedva and becoming a role model in sacrifice and work ethic. One uncle was very successful in Tulsa in the oil business. He invited the grandfather and Fedva's dad to come over and visit them in 1953 with the intent of moving the entire family to America, but unfortunately it didn't work out. The entire family had to move from Istanbul to Mardin. Now, the family only spoke Arabic at home, not a word of Turkish. So when Fedva started to attend school, she was unable to communicate until she learned the Turkish language. She completed her entire education, including all the way through the university. Now, there are only 3 universities in Istanbul, and Fedva applied to the University of Istanbul as she was interested in becoming a chemist. Now, as you can expect, it's pretty darn competitive when you got 100,000 students applying for 10,000 applications. And luckily, Fedva was one of those 10,000 students accepted. And during her first year in college, Fedva was, she was what they referred to in Istanbul as, I think they call it a party animal. Yeah. See, she had a drinking problem comprised of too much Turkish coffee and a love of American movies. That's a deadly combination. Her sister told her she better clean up her act if she ever wanted to get a college degree and move to America. Well, Fedva did clean up her act. She graduated with a degree in geography and a minor in sociology. Now, after college, Fedva played for a year, which a lot of people do, but what she really wanted was to come to America. In 1970, she applied and got accepted at the University of Washington for a master's in geography and environmental science. Now, her English wasn't very good, so her advisor assigned her to a Yugoslavian professor. And the two of them did not get along, as a Yugoslavian professor was not a fan of Turks and or female students. Fedva realized that discrimination crosses all borders and can reach across the sea, even to America. She completed her degree and followed her sister to the University of Wisconsin, where she did research in environmental studies. And in 1976, she followed her sister again when she was accepted to a faculty position at the University of Washington in Seattle. Now, it's 1976. Fedva desperately needs to decide what she's going to do with the rest of her life. So after reviewing her skills and taking count of the marketing opportunities, Fedva decided to become a travel agent. She completed travel school. She went to work at the University Travel. Next, she went to work at a small Black-owned travel agency that focused on the Black consumer market in Seattle. And once again, Fedva came face to face with the challenge of discrimination. Now, Fedva had no problem dealing with the black market, but the black market had a problem working with a funny little white woman with a weird accent. So Fedva had to go. Well, next she went to work for Hermes Travel Agency. At first, she thought the name of the agency was Herpes Travel, but then she realized that was just a language barrier. Slowly, Fedva was building a substantial consumer base, thanks in large part to her contacts at the University of Washington. And finally, in 1980, she was making enough money to open her own travel agency, and Dikmen Travel was created. The agency grew and grew as Fedva had convinced her brother to move in from his job as an electrical engineer at Boeing to take control of the wholesale travel segment. She took control of the retail division. At the agency's height, she employed over 70 people, and Fedva was living the high life, which included such perks as, got a little problem here. Come back. There's a great story with the little friend there in the white. Anyway, such perks as playing volleyball and sharing a cocktail with James Bond's Pierce Bronson, astronaut Buzz Aldrin, Ted Danson from Cheers, and many, many other celebrities. But then came the expansion of the internet and the tragic 9/11 attacks, and two major influences on the demise of the travel agent. And finally, in 2002, Dikmen Travel had to close its doors. Now, at the same time, Fedva was hit by a taxi and suffered numerous complications. It was a real low point in her life. But Fedva's a fighter and a survivor. Influenced by her family, she reinvented herself in the real estate industry and had a long and successful career with Windermere Real Estate. Fedva joined Emerald City Rotary in 1989 and then left in 2002 due to her injury and loss of income. She joined Seattle Rotary in 2008, and all in, she's been a Rotarian, as I mentioned earlier, for over 33 years. Her perfect attendance in Seattle Rotary is a testament to how special this club is to her. In short, Fedva loves Seattle Rotary. She loves the people. They are her friends. And she's always felt accepted at Rotary. Having experienced some discrimination in her life, this acceptance is something that Fedva values very highly. And she has served on numerous committees, and she was also the Commodore of the Seattle Rotary Mariners. She had a little trouble finding the right size hat, but she did a great job. How you doing, Sailor? New in town? Okay. And she also has a long and impressive 41-year career with the Washington Athletic Club, where she met her good friend, Doug Sato. Look at that little picture of Doug Sato when he was a young man. Look at him. Look at Doug. Dang nabbit, boy. You're a magnet. Wow. She served on their board for 2 terms, and in addition to serving on numerous commissions. Now, one of her greatest passions is sailing. She loves being on the water. She also loves yoga, bicycling. She's ridden the Seattle to Portland 3 times, as well as numerous other rides and many 10K runs, as long as they offer free t-shirts. Now, of course, she still has her love of travel. She enjoys traveling with her friends. And hopefully this spring, Fedva plans to return to her birthplace in Turkey. Now, although we're all really happy that she could find her way home, we're so glad she found her way to us. Ladies and gentlemen, my honor and pleasure to introduce our Rotary Spotlight Member of the Month for February 2023, Fedva Dikmen. If you would stand up, classification, real estate, retired.